All right, I'm Anna Livermore from V Mora, and today I'm here with Whitney from 3Dlook, which is this amazing, innovative company that scans the body to help people fit into your clothing. And Whitney, you want to say hi, and then I'll play your intro video?
Yeah, hi, and I'm so happy to be here today. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me. I'm excited to talk all things fashion and fit. So I'm very excited. We're going
we're
to have a good
excited to have you.
conversation.
Yeah, all right. So here is the video.
Mobile Tailor, 3D precision, anytime, anywhere. Mobile Tailor delivers impeccable fit with precise body measurements, enabling a more sustainable and less wasteful fashion industry appealing to eco-conscious consumers. Using cutting-edge AI and 3D technologies, just two smartphone photos generate precise 3D models and over 80 measurements in seconds. Intuitive, fast, accurate, your pocket-sized fitting room to elevate and enhance every in-store and online measurement experience. Make fit personalization at scale possible. When the exact fit is your brand, Mobile Tailor delivers. A platform that reduces measuring time, returns, remakes, and waste. The future of fit? It's here. Mobile Tailor.
That's amazing. I'm so excited to get into together. I have some questions lined up for you, but most importantly, tell me in like layman's terms what 3D Look is, how you're helping customers, what your customers look like, because you've been on my radar for a while and I wasn't sure if it was just like a big business thing. I know you help big businesses, but there's also a way to help smaller brands. So tell me all about it.
Yeah. So 3D Look is a technology company, and we are an AI first, so artificial intelligence, and we've been doing it 7.5 years now. So before AI was a big buzzword like it is today, we were that from the beginning. So we are actually a technology company, and the way our core technology works is user, a shopper essentially, is going to take a body scan, and it's all software based. So they're going to do that by taking a front and a side photo of themselves in tight fitted clothing. The whole experience is very quick. And without getting too technical, essentially what our core technology does is it's measuring the human body from those two photos. So it's very complex technology. We've been working on it for 7.5 years, and we've got over 100 customers using our solution. And our solution, Mobile Tailor, is basically taking the data that we get from those two photos, and it is generating over 80 different points of measure. So we have built a solution for apparel companies who make everything from uniforms to wedding gowns to luxury outerwear to denim. Trying to think about all the different types of companies using Mobile Tailor. But basically, what Mobile Tailor does is think of it as kind of an intelligent digital body measuring system to help consumers get their best fit.
That's amazing. I remember it's just so hard. I'm in the fashion industry, obviously, but it's so hard to I work with a bridal company that does the custom fit. And even her and I had to do an entire hour Zoom meeting and have her watch me measure all of these measurements. I needed someone there to help me. It was like a two-person job. And then even still, when I got the dress, I needed alterations. So what you're saying is like all I need to do is take two pictures and then that designer can get
Instantly.
everything I need.
Yeah, instantly. So what we're doing on our back end is we're actually generating a 3D model from those two photos. So if you think about it, that 3D model is that's our secret sauce kind of.
Yeah.
We then measure that 3D model. So it's really important to get a good, accurate 3D model. And we do this, I mean, the whole experience, start to finish, including changing your clothes, maybe takes 5 minutes. The
That's
actual processing takes about 30 seconds. Sorry, I've been talking all day.
oh no worries.
So it's really, it's very, very quick. And so that is definitely one of the use cases, is custom clothing, whether it's made to order, whether it's made to measure, or whether it's brands that are taking measurements and helping the shopper convert into their size. And I think as we think about, and as you know, I was in manufacturing for 30 years before being in this, so I understand the complexities around
Yeah.
fit. But all, as a brand, we're using different fit models or fit mannequins to create our core size and grading rules. And yet, as human beings, we're not graded on a linear scale. We all have different, body shapes. And
Right.
the shape is so important to the fit of the garment. Sometimes I would argue it more so even than the measurements. So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
generating that 3D model. So a business gets their own business admin panel, and there are multiple different ways to use Mobile Tailor. And the reason for that is we have different types of use cases. So if you've got an e-commerce website, you can put a little measuring widget right on your website on the product pages,
Okay.
and the consumer simply taps that widget and it's going to open right up into our experience. There's no downloading of an app.
Oh,
And
nice.
I love to, it's important to say that because we know from
Right.
doing this early on that consumers don't want to download another app.
No.
And
I don't have the storage on my phone to download.
right. And a brand doesn't want to drive the consumer away either. So
Yeah. It's got to be simple.
there's no downloading of an app. So it's
Right.
really easy. You can you tap the widget on a website. It's going to take you right into our experience. You snap 2 photos. You can do it by yourself or you grab your phone. This is the way I like to do it. And you just kind of angle it on a desk and we walk you through this experience. We're very good at it because we've been doing it for a long time,
Yeah.
and we've measured hundreds of thousands of end users. So we've got a gyroscope built in and we've got voice instructions. The one thing we hear is the user experience is super, super easy.
Right.
And
So
then
much fun.
within seconds, the measurements are, ready and they show up instantly in the business dashboard. And the product is at certain levels very customizable. So you could
Right.
say, hi, Anna, it's, Whitney's black dress shop. I want you to scan yourself. And then instantly I have your measurements and I can help you get into the right size. Or if I'm doing customization, which is certainly something that we are seeing an absolute increase in companies that are offering custom fits. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of that, well, I don't think, I know a lot of that is being driven by consumers who are wanting more personalized fit experiences and who are certainly care more about the environment and sustainable brands that are operating in a sustainable way.
Yeah. So let's tap into that a little bit more. Sustainability is like such a word that gets thrown around so much. So,
Mhm.
in this use of the word sustainable, how are you helping brands be more sustainable?
Well, reducing returns,
Yeah.
reducing remakes, reducing back and forth on alteration costs, returns. We have brands that have upwards of 50% returns.
Yeah.
And, the fashion
Just the, like,
industry,
carbon footprint on that, of the
it's a
shipping that
terrible
in the
carbon
box
footprint.
and yeah.
Yeah. So we make, as an industry, we make over 100 billion garments a year. 100 billion garments.
Yeah.
So, like, if we didn't make garments for a long time, we would still have enough to buy for
Yeah.
probably my entire lifetime. About 92 million tons of that winds up in the landfill.
Mm.
So, the way we look at it, and the way, more importantly, we hear from end users, meaning shoppers, is that fit personalization is no more just like a nice to have cool thing. It's actually a sustainability solution. And we cannot continue to build brands that consumers are having a hard time figuring out the fit because they wear 3 sizes in one brand and they don't know enough about what goes into a pattern and why
Right.
one pattern in two different fabrics can, produce garments that are going to fit differently. They don't understand what happens at the factory level, that what you put in doesn't always come out exactly like what you think it should be.
Right.
Consumers don't understand that, right? So helping them understand the best fit for your brand is a big part of how brands will be successful with consumers. And also, how are you thinking about differentiating your brand?
Right.
Right? We were talking about this earlier, but it's actually a lot easier to start a brand today than certainly in my generation. And as things become more automated in that manufacturing process, we see so many brands. I mean, just go into your Instagram feed. So, how are you thinking about differentiating your brand from the other brand that's making something somewhat similar, right? And
Yeah.
beyond having to degrade your pricing.
Right. Yeah. There's so many ways. Like there's so many brands, and you really have to set yourself apart from your competition. And this is like one of the ways that you could do that. And I think it's just so cool. So we talked a little bit about the consumer. So the consumer, they click on the website, and then for as far as what are the clothing requirements? Is it something like everyone will have, or are they naked, or like
Oh,
what's the
no.
best?
Yeah, no. It was really important for us not only to build technology that could accurately measure the human body, but as importantly, make sure that the user experience was there,
Right.
right? And we've done a ton of work around this. We launched our first customer, um, who was really I mean, if I think about her now, I mean, really pioneering on like custom clothing for women, right? So it was back in 2019, and she's still with us. And we've, iterated over the years on that customer journey. So we do want people in tight fitted clothing. So, like, this morning,
Leggings and a
yeah, I was in like leggings this morning, and like I had like a black tank top on. So we do not require that people get naked or get in their underwear.
yeah, yeah.
Certainly if you are, a t-shirt brand, and, most of my t-shirts I can wear an XS or a small. Where it gets complex now is where you have brands with so much vanity sizing, which,
Yeah.
there's always been some degree of vanity sizing in the fashion industry, but I see it pervasively today. And what it's done for consumers is just make it really confusing, right? So if you've got brands that have like triple XS or size 000 000 246, and you're going up, it's like, where do you fit on that scale? How do
Right.
I take one brand's 4 and become one brand's 2 or one brand's 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever it is? And that combined with making returns really easy has just created a monster. And when we weren't online so much, we went into stores. And if you think about that experience, we went into store, we fall in love with that top, but we didn't just grab one off the rack. We
Right.
grabbed multiple sizes. And replicating that online means you need some sort of fit help, because the average consumer does not understand the complexities that go into everyone watching this that's making a brand. And I know how hard it is,
Yeah.
but the complexities into creating beautifully fitted garments. And because you create a beautifully fitted garment for, your fit model or whoever it is that you're trying to create some standardization for as your base, not all of us look like that person. In fact, most of us don't. So most of us actually don't fit perfectly into a brand. So where I really see this going, and we're already starting to see this, is brands using body data from the customers to actually revise fits or
Yeah.
add additional fit blocks and rethink grading, right?
Yeah, there's no standardization in that at all. Do you think at some point, and like there hasn't been a body study done since like the 20s or something wild like
I
that?
think it
Like,
was a little later than that, but yeah, it's
yeah,
been,
something. Oh, too long, too
yeah.
long.
I
So,
mean, yeah.
do you think that this will help create more of that standard sizing at all? Or, even like a customer doesn't even know how to measure themselves. Like if I were to ask 10 people on the street, what are your measurements? They wouldn't be right. Even if I gave them a tape measure. So do you think that this is like, and there's another thing too, like, do you share the measurements with the customers after they get measured? Or is
I
it
was
just
looking
like,
for a pen because that question is so loaded because there's 3 questions
yeah,
in it.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
No, no,
sorry.
no. So I'm going to go. So the first one is, do I think things are going to be standardized?
Yes. Or
So
will there be help in that
yeah.
area?
So I don't. The world is not going towards standardization,
Yeah.
right? Everything is about personalization. So I actually think the opposite. I think
Yeah.
over the next could be 5 years, 10 years. I mean, I used to say 10 years. Things are moving quickly now. But I actually think we will move into, and this has been a personal mission of mine at 3Dlook, is that we have a technology that actually can help get rid of sizing altogether because
Right.
we're not standard. It's impossible. If you take, like I've always said, okay, height and weight do not create a size.
Right.
When I go call a store and go, hey, I'm having a problem with figuring out my sizing and I'm testing them, they go, just give me your height and weight and we'll tell you what size. Height and weight's not going to tell you about my body shape.
Right.
And just because you have 2 people with the same height and weight and the same measurements doesn't mean that their body shape is the same. And body shape is so important to products that fit and flatter us, right? So there are certain dress styles, designs that I think I look sensational in, and others that don't. But somebody
Right.
else that's got a different shape is going to have a different opinion. And unless you understand what your customers look like beyond just measurements, but also down to their body shape, you're never going to be able to create clothes that fit them well. So you're always going to be up against this return rate problem,
Right.
unless you just have a small customer base, right? And you've figured out and they've figured out, and that's all you're selling to. But if you want to acquire all the different shapes and sizes that we all come in, you have to understand what those customers look like and
Right.
adjust for that. We have a really cool company called Slow Jeans. I did a webinar with them a couple of weeks ago, and they make custom denim.
Oh, wow.
And what they do is they actually make, I think they're up to like 125 sizes of denim. So what you do is you scan yourself on the website and you enter those measurements into a form, and then it predicts which of the 125 sizes is going to fit your measurements and body shape best.
Yeah.
And he didn't start with that many measurements or that many different sizes, and he does everything on demand. So he was the TikTok gene. So you go in, and when he opens up orders, he'll get whatever, 10,000 scans and go and produce. But the more he's done it, the more variance he's seen in body shapes.
Yeah.
And so the more sizes he's creating.
That's
So
wild.
he
I mean,
is less return.
there should be 125 sizes according to all of the measurements that your customers have gained. That's fascinating.
And to think that, I think, part of it is what do you do on the front end? Part of it is what do you do on the factory end, right? And
I was like, do we go there?
yeah, well, I mean, look, I ask we have 100 customers that are, most of them are making some sort of adjustment to a pattern. Let's just
Right,
call it
right.
that,
So,
right? It
so
may
for,
not be bespoke. We have plenty of customers that do bespoke, but that's kind of a different deal, right?
yeah.
If you're talking about adjustments to MTM,
Right. Define that for a second, because we do have people that wouldn't know the difference. Tell me the definition of bespoke and then compare that to pattern alterations? Like, what does that look like on the back end?
Right. So if you think about like a bespoke garment, you're creating it for me. Like every single measurement, everything about it is bespoke. I think what obviously would come to mind is luxury, Savile Row suiting, whether it's for men or women. I think, generally most people think men's suiting, Savile Row, right? But where you are taking many body measurements, could be 40 body measurements, and you're creating a truly bespoke pattern
So it's just
versus,
customized for one
right.
person
And I'm touching
every
and feeling
time.
the fabrics,
Yeah.
and I'm picking out the lining and do I want a zipper, all of that.
So every time an order comes in, you're making a brand new pattern. So that's what she means by bespoke. Thank you.
Yeah. Versus
And
a made to measure where you're starting with a base pattern.
right.
And then you're adjusting it, right? So, and again, this a little bit is in marketing because most of the end consumers don't know the difference, right?
Right.
But MTM
Look
is
custom.
far more customized than ready to wear,
Yeah. And what do you mean by MTM?
made to measure. So
Made.
you're taking measurements. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I'm just gonna pull out the
No. I forget like the main
I like
task here is education too, right?
right.
Yeah, particularly for all of your clients who are watching us, who are embarking on this journey. I think even being able to be an MTM customer or brand is really truly a differentiator, and it
Right.
feeds into sustainability, and that feeds into like Gen Z, for example, right? So you have a generation that today already has $360 billion worth of shopping power,
Yeah.
right? They are spending 15% more on clothing than their predecessors.
Oh wow.
They are buying luxury 3 to 5 years younger than
Oh, that's
their
great. I mean,
predecessors.
because of the sustainability of it, like buying things that last and understanding what fast fashion has done to the environment. And yeah, no,
And they were the 7, 9, 10-year-olds who were part of that whole, I won't name all the brands that are now out of it. I don't like doing that, but you guys probably know who they are. But I even remember, my daughter used to love to go into those places, and it would be like, oh yeah, I can get 8 camis for $1.99. Well, they're all sitting in the landfill.
right.
And our world cannot handle that. Like the fashion industry, if we don't make changes now, there's a projection that we will contribute to another 50, we will increase the fashion industry's emissions by another 50% in under a decade. So like we can't keep doing things the way we've always done them.
Right.
And I see a lot of disruption in emergent brands that are really kind of rethinking that experience and giving consumers a taste of the personalization that they want at the fabric level, at the customization of the garment level. So you see a lot of 3D configurators out there now, right?
Yeah.
We have a couple of our customers have done great jobs with this. I think on that same webinar, I had Made Outdoor on there. She used to work for an amazing giant outdoor brand that we all know well. She's a kind of a pattern maker by background. And she wanted to take a very difficult product, which is technical outdoor, like ski apparel, and create a brand that actually would customize it.
Mhm.
And she, yes, found a factory that will make one-offs on custom apparel. So I think this like
Yeah.
fear that you won't be able to find it at the factory level is not true, because we have plenty of brands that are making, one-offs.
And I want to
And
say too that it's come so far from
yeah,
where it was, gosh, even 3 years ago. So the made to order in the pattern making, in the cutting, in the sewing, like the industry is desperately trying to catch up and figuring out how to do that to where that will just be what the norm is in, I mean, I'll say 10 years, but like things move really
Yeah,
fast.
I think it'll be,
Yeah.
maybe not the pervasive norm in 10, but I think in 5 years, we're going to be looking at a completely different apparel industry. I think starting a brand from the ground up and thinking about it as being as digital as it can be. So not just on the e-commerce experience, but also in how you're thinking about the design experience, right? So like body data is one piece of it. But I always tell fashion designers, you better be learning 3D. Like you better understand how to design in 3D
Yeah.
because I grew up in an industry where the sample room was a giant waste mess in itself. I mean, the amount of money we spent on samples that wind up in landfill
Right.
is terrible. And I know many, 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 many big manufacturers still do it this way. We have companies, the whole process is digitized.
Right. So I'm going to bring that again back to like what she means is instead of sewing an entire sample start to finish, fitting it, having a fit model, doing this in real time, spending the weeks to make all those samples are no longer being cut and sewn, but created in this 3D model with AI technologies. So you don't have to cut and sew everything. You can fit a garment, see it in real time, all digitally, which is incredible.
Yeah, and you're taking a 2D pattern and creating a 3D garment pattern of it, and then you're fitting it. And so what does that look? The first time I saw 3D design was in 2013, and it has come a long way.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, I knew that was the future of the industry, and that's why I came over to the other side. But if you think about it, what it enables you to do is play around with colors, with prints, with fabrics, with placement. You can do all of this in 3D, and there's great 3D design companies out there. And if the other thing you can do is you can use 3D models from 3Dlook that are in your Mobile Tailor admin panel. You can export them as an OBJ file, which is a 3D file. There's several different kinds, and you can import them into the 3D design software. So you're actually, if you think about it, you can be fitting on your fit models, you can be fitting on your
Customer.
customers, most importantly.
Now, for those people that are watching that we are completely overwhelming and scaring the crap out of because they are like not into technology, what advice do you have for them and how easy is it to integrate into what they're already doing?
Yeah. So, like anything, you have to experience it. I mean, I do not have a computer science background. I am not an algorithm engineer. I grew up on the business side of the fashion industry.
Yeah.
And, I was interested enough and knew enough that the world, whether you want to believe it or not, is going digital and it's actually going 3D. So, again, my advice to designers is, there's so many places that you can learn 3D. YouTube, these 3D design companies are great, and I think their packages now have all gotten much cheaper than they used to be. Some of them really feel like a very kind of Apple intuitive experience, and some of them are
Yeah.
more complex. Some of them, designers love because it feels very design driven. But I think my point is that in order for you to differentiate yourself and be able to produce lines faster and faster as things in manufacturing become automated and consumers drive this demand for personalization. So personalization of colors, again, of prints,
Yeah.
do I want a short sleeve or a long sleeve, or where do I want my hemline, what do I want my neckline to look like? All of these tools are available today, And I think, part of it is doing the research. I keep thinking I should start a consulting company on this. And not being afraid, right? I think
Yeah.
really, like, you can't be afraid. If you think about kind of, everybody's talking about conversational AI and generative AI models, like think chat GPT. I wish I could see a show of hands if we ask the question, how many of you have used chat GPT? But things like ChatGPT are, I look at it as like super high efficiency. It makes our lives easier. And technology is really made to make our lives easier.
Yeah.
So 3Dlook makes getting measurements easier. It takes away the second part of your question, which was around manual measurements. Consumers do not know how to measure themselves. And if you ask a woman in the US what her waist size is, she will give you her denim size. And that is not where we, as pattern makers and tech designers, measure the natural waist.
Yeah.
So
I also
you've got this misalignment.
Yeah. I've learned to measure and then hide the measurements from whoever I'm measuring, because they'll be like, that's wrong.
Right.
And you're
Because they don't understand.
like, oh, if I pull it really tight, you're right. You're 26, but that's not.
So that is a
Yeah.
great thing that you bring up. So in our product, we have the ability for you as the brand owners to customize that thank you screen that the consumer sees after they're done scanning. And you can choose if you want to show them measurements, or you can write your own message, congratulate, whatever you want, upload your own logos. And most of our customers do not show users. They
that
say,
would be what I recommend.
right?
You don't want to send anyone into spirals of like,
users don't know. Users
they don't want to know.
And we've done enough measuring tests over the last years. I mean, probably hundreds of them, where and in fact, we just did one where we had a big company take 5 master tailors and measure 10 people, right? So we had 5 people measuring 10 people by manual. And we got the measurements, and I was like, well, what is the baseline? Because all the different, everybody measures a little bit differently, right? When we see, like particularly in men's suiting, like some people will measure and they'll put fingers in between the neck. So it's part of why we have so many measurements. But one thing you will see from us is consistency in measurements, because we're taking out the human hand, right? And that's particularly true of,
it's not even just like the general public doesn't know how to measure. Like, you can have professionals measure and come back with different measurements. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's all part of kind of digital transformation. And, we see on, conversion rates, if you want something custom, you have to get measurements to the brand. And there's only 3 ways to do it. You either figure out how to take them yourself, which is a complex and long, process. Some brands will put like videos up of how to measure. Some of those videos are like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Or you make an appointment and you go into a store, which also takes time, right? So even for like bridal companies, we have a lot of amazing bridal companies that we work with.
Yeah.
And we as women love like to, I mean, I've only been married once, but when, even if you're buying that, you're falling in love with the products online, that experience of going in and trying on that gown. But the worst part of it is at the end, oh, now I have to stand around and get measured. So what we have, our bridal companies can actually send the shopper a scanning link on, literally, it comes in as a text message, which everybody uses texting.
Yeah.
A text message, you scan yourself in the privacy of your home when it's convenient for you. And the brand then has your measurements. So when you're then coming into the store, you're able to spend time as the designer or the owner of the store doing what you do best, which is sales and, selling your products and spending time with the customer, ensuring that they love the dress that they're going to buy, and having to spend less time on the measuring.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you are the only people I know that do this, but are there other people, other companies doing similar things? And if so, like what makes your company different? If
Yeah,
there are
great
other people,
question. I
I
mean,
don't
I think, well, so we're not the only ones doing this. I think
know.
we've, maybe been out there the longest.
Yeah.
I certainly see more and more companies popping up. I always say if somebody tells you creating mobile body scanning is easy, they're lying because it's not. It takes a lot of data and a lot of very smart people, a lot of feedback loops, a lot of algorithms, a lot of data. I think I just said that.
Yeah.
Um, I think, as returns continue to be such a big problem, you'll see more people go at it at different ways. We've tried to make our user experience really easy, and I think we really win on that. There are companies out there where you have to do a video or you have to put your arms on a wall in certain ways.
Okay.
I've seen companies where you have to put a piece of paper in between your feet, so just different types of user experiences. I think the vast majority of them are all app based. So it requires the end user to have to go download
Download an app.
an
Okay.
app, which again is all part of the user experience. We're
Right.
trying to create as frictionless of an experience for the user as possible and also make it fun, right? And that's the one thing we consistently hear is that your experience is so intuitive and so easy. So we're constantly thinking of ways to, make it like cool and fun and things like that and keep it really, really simple. I think as we are more and more a camera culture, right now they're here, but I mean, everybody saw what Apple released. I think at some point we will be a culture where there's something up here, and that again feeds into 3D, which again goes back to my point about the importance of understanding 3D and really starting to think about how do you cut costs by actually using 3D
Right.
in different ways. Um, but I think as things move so quickly that you'll see more and more companies out there. I think we have a good reputation. We have a lot of customers. We have customers large and small. So
Mhm.
we are, well versed in the enterprise space. We have customers in the defense space. So, I think privacy comes up a lot. We couldn't be in that space if we weren't very buttoned up in terms of how we're managing data
Right.
and how we're making sure that consumers privacy, because we're dealing in photos. Photos are encrypted, deleted, everything around CCP, all the different
Right.
compliances that have popped up over the years. So, and I think it's a combination of all of those things, right?
Right.
Customers, customer testimonials. I mean, I think hearing from a customer is better than hearing from Whitney.
Yeah.
So, when people talk to us about certain metrics, I like to bring up case studies, and you can go to our website and you can actually read multiple different case studies. And we've got a bunch more that are coming this month and into November. So I'm excited about that.
Great. So that brings me to my next question. It seems like there's just like endless possibilities of where you could go with this technology, where you could focus on. But are there any new upcoming features you're excited about or new research that will be launching maybe in the next year or two?
Yeah, I mean, we are actually constantly doing updates. We've
Yeah.
got, feedback loops built into our product, both for the business, but also for the end user. So we're getting, real-time information. We are obviously, we are driven by data in our company. So understanding what that data is telling us informs our product roadmap. We're about 80% through it, but every couple, not, I wouldn't say it's every quarter, but almost every quarter, it seems like in 2023, we've been doing deep dive customer interviews that are like hour and a half long.
Wow.
And that feedback helps inform our product roadmap so
Yeah.
that we're not just building things blindly. And because we have so many different use cases, for example, the client success side, right? One of the things that we've seen happen this year is shoppers are frustrated and they are spending time emailing brands, calling brands. They need help with sizing.
Yeah.
And this wasn't something that was immediately obvious to us, that our product could be used on the customer success side.
Right.
So for your client success teams that are fielding calls and call centers, how you're answering emails beyond, yeah, what's your height and weight? Because again, that isn't going to solve the sizing problem.
Right.
We can now create this cool personalized experience and collect body measurements. And so it's helping the consumer, but it's also helping the brand, because the brand is starting to build a database of what their consumers look like, what
Right.
those 3D models look like, so they can actually see differences in body shapes.
And really loyal customers from that experience, which is
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
look, you have bad fit experiences. There's
Never go
just
back. That's it.
there are too many brands out there now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have a great fit experience and a great customer success experience. You are a loyal member.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So, is there anything you wanted to add before we kind of jump into like if somebody's interested, what are the next steps? How do they get in touch with you? Anything else that I didn't ask that you think I should have?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot. I think, part of what I'm trying to drive in is that, like, digital transformation is happening. And again, I grew up in an analog fashion industry where, everything was hand sketched. And where I see people go up against some of these innovations is, well, I'm going to lose my creativity. And that actually is not true. I think you will
Right.
discover creativity in ways that you didn't know that you have, because you have tools to bring your ideas to life faster. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah.
I think this idea that I can't create custom clothing because no factory is going to be able to make it for me and it's going to be too expensive. Again, if you're digitizing what you're doing, you're already cutting costs because you're going to spend more on your samples anyway. And there's
Right.
nothing worse than getting your samples in and you go, wow, I wish I had, made it a cap sleeve instead of a short sleeve. Well, you can do
Right.
all of this in 3D. You can use 3D models of your fit models of your customers. Like, all of this already exists. So I think it's really important for all of you designers out there that are building brands to not be afraid of, digital transformation, but actually embrace it, because it's also a way for you to really differentiate your brand and speak to this really tech savvy digital consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So somebody saw you today, they're interested. How do they get in touch with you? What are their next steps? Like, how do they know if your company's right for them?
They can go to our website, actually 3dlook.ai, and you can actually sign up for a 7-day free trial.
Oh, wow.
Anna, you have special links
Yes, that
that
way you
we've
find out
given to
what
you. So hopefully Anna will send you all emails with those links. So those special links are important so we can understand where you're coming from. And Mobile Tailor, you can sign up and actually have a free 7-day trial.
Amazing.
Yeah, you can also, if you go to our website, you see contact us forms. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn. We're always putting a lot of information out on LinkedIn and Instagram. We aren't doing TikTok, but Instagram and LinkedIn. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Whitney, so much for being here. And if anyone has any follow-up questions or anything, we'll be sending out the information on 3D Look and those links. And thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here.
we love answering questions. We
Yeah.
just did a webinar and we followed up the webinar with Q&A that
Oh,
we
wow.
didn't get to. We actually sent everybody, all of our subscribers, we actually sent the Q&A. So we really love answering questions. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. You fill out a form and we're there to answer your questions. We
Amazing.
want to hear from you.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, we'll ask everyone if they have questions. We'll bring it up with you guys. And yeah, this was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to everybody.